All right, you are in the kitchen with jelly007.com and this new Ninja Foodi. Tonight, we're going to do another recipe out of the recipe booklet that actually comes with the Ninja. The reason being is how well the shrimp and grits turned out last night. Now, I will say, I've done a couple of recipes out here, and I did have one fail a little bit. So, I'm going to touch on that a little bit later, but the shrimp and grits were excellent. So tonight, we're doing the short ribs, the beef short ribs and root vegetables. And I love all of the above. Beef ribs are one of my favorite root vegetables also. So, what I'm getting at, I'm going to try and show I'm going to try and find a way, maybe you can see what all is in here in case I miss something, but everything's listed in the recipe booklet. So, and they come with the Ninja, or it came with mine, so I'm assuming they come with all of them, but that's something I'm not positive about. Going to put 3 parsnips in it, 3 carrots cut up in 1-inch lengths. Now I'm going to take those under running water and clean them with my Scotch-Brite. It works great on vegetables. An onion chopped up, 3 cloves of garlic, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, some parsnips, and some thyme. It calls for, it's also going to get a cup of pearl onions and like a 1/4 cup of beef broth and a 1/4 cup of Marsala wine. Now, it didn't specify sweet or dry, so I went with sweet. So, it calls for 6 beef ribs, and you can see they're not the cheapest thing in the store. They're $7.99 a pound is what I paid for them tonight, and I may have got them cheaper than that before, but they're really pretty. I mean, these are good-looking beef ribs. It calls for 6. I've got 8. There's 1 in each one of these packs that are fairly small, so I'm going to do them all 8. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. So that's the only alteration I'm having. Of course, it also has a little bit of olive oil and some pepper and salt. So I'm going to get some of that started and bring you back and show you how it does. And we're going to see how well it does together. But anyhow, I will get that done and be right back. So y'all hang on. Okay, so here's where I'm at. I've got the ribs salt and peppered as they requested on all 4 sides. The next step is I've already put a tablespoon of olive oil in the pan, and then my next step is to hit the saute and sear function, and then hit start and let it go for 3 minutes to get the pan hot, and then sear these on all sides. Now, I'm going to crowd that pot a little bit because I got 8 ribs instead of 6. It's no big deal. If I go over there, what they say 10 minutes, and I just will. I'm going to get them brown on all 4 sides. Now, one thing I will say added some time was the pearl onions. If I had it to do over again, I would probably just get the ones out of the freezer that are already prepared. I had to blanch those and peel them. It's a little time consuming. But other than that, I got everything else ready. And like I said, next step is these supposedly for 10 minutes to get brown on all sides. But we'll see because I got a little extra. So but anyhow, I'll bring you back. Once that's done, I'm going to start the sear saute function right now. And let that go for 3 minutes, and I'm going to start putting those in there and just browning all 4 sides. And I'll come back at that point once I get that done, and I'll show you the next step. Okay, we're at the 3-minute mark. I just want to show you how well it sears. And you can hear it. It is definitely doing its thing. And that's what we want. I'm going to try and spin them around and get a little bit of oil on them just before I leave them sitting, because that's what I'm going to do. And I'll show you what 8 ribs looks like in this 6.5 quart. And it is pretty close, but it is definitely crowded for searing. But nevertheless, I got them in there, and they went in fairly well. So, in 10 minutes or so, I'll be back. Okay, that's about 12 minutes. So, I mean, I'm going to stop them. I mean, some of them are already brown. They're as brown as I want them, that's for sure. All right, now, the next step is to add the onion. We're going to do that. I'm going to knock those around just a little bit, let them get down in there because we're fixing to do some pressure on them. Let's see, the wine, which I have right here. The broth. Then I've got the garlic, the thyme, the salt, and the pepper right here, all in one thing. And then the brown sugar. So, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And I believe that is everything we got to do there, so I'm just going to knock that around a little bit. And then we're going to put the pressure lid on. And by the way, I was doing that with them while I was browning earlier, and that was working great. You can kind of move it off the cold spots and onto the hot. It works. This nonstick surface is really good. So I don't want all that liquid to evaporate. So put the lid on. Put it on seal. Select pressure on high. 40 minutes. Whoops. Press start. And let me make sure, but I think that is it. And we are off and running again. As soon as that comes up to pressure, I'll bring you back, or once it completes its 40 minutes, I'll bring you back. And let's see, we got to do a quick release at 40 minutes. So I'll be back shortly. Okay, so the 40 minutes is done. So all we have to do now is a quick release and wait on it to vent off, and then we'll remove the lid and put this on and the root vegetables on top of it and do some bacon roasting at 350. Okay, so there went the pan. Now all we're going to do is remove this lid, and then we're going to put this on and these on top of it and do some baked roast at 350 for 15 minutes. But so you can see at the same time I do, there it is. And man, they look good. So the procedure now is this right here. We put this on and we got to make it fit, evidently. Yep, just set it just like that. And it goes, obviously, the high side up, whatever you want to say. And now we're just going to kind of, now this has, I don't remember if I told it or not, it has a tablespoon of olive oil. It has a tablespoon of thyme and salt and pepper. A teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper, and it's just been mixed around. And the pearl onions are in there too, if you can't see them. But that's what it is. And I'm going to just place these on here and lower that lid. Bake roast feature for 15 minutes at 350 degrees. And then we're going to do a little bit with the jus, or the sauce in the bottom. We're going to do a saute, hit the saute function. I think it's 5 minutes it lets it go, and kind of thickens it a little bit, reduces it some. And then we're going to pour it off into that container right over here and add that parsley. And then or maybe I think we let it sit in there a minute, and then we take off the fat. It says spoon off the fat, and then we add the parsley, I think. But either way, we'll do that when that comes up in just a minute. So I'm just going to make sure these are positioned a little bit, you know, as good as possible. Not much you can do with it, but that right there. Some of them look a little close to the top, so we're going to, and I just want to make sure I'm going to crush them down just a little bit. I don't want them touching that. I don't know that it matters, so I'm going to lower those a little bit, and that seems fine. So now, the baked roast for 350 degrees, 15 minutes, and hit start. And right now, while I'm thinking about it, I mentioned one of the recipes that went bad on me. Well, the recipe didn't really go bad. It's something we love. It's salmon and bok choy. And I I'm not going to say the recipe went bad because I didn't exactly follow this particular one. I dropped to this. I went to the where it says use instead of using frozen salmon, I tried to use fresh. Well, I had a bad feeling when I went by their instructions, and maybe I did it wrong, but I don't think I did. But it says at step 7, you just put the salmon on for 15 minutes. Well, it just wasn't. It wasn't even close. So that's where it went wrong. I think if I had went with the frozen, it would have been fine. And this looks like a great recipe, and I'm going to try it again with frozen salmon. So, but that's the one that went. This is where I lost it at. There's something happened when I went to this right here because it was not done, and I had to cook it a little longer, and it kind of messed up some of the other items like the rice. It all dried out. But all that being said, no big deal. I'm gonna do it again one day on video, and we'll get it right before I do it. So, okay, so we're coming up on the end of the 15 minutes at 350-degree bake roast feature, and I'm gonna let it go through its little cool down function, and then we're gonna take a look at them, and I'm actually gonna pull one out and let it cool just a little bit and see if it's done. But right now, let's look at them. Let's see how they look. Well, they look fantastic. I mean, they really do. I mean, look at this one right here. That looks great. And that's one of the larger ones. So I'm going to set it aside for right now. And I'm going to let these sit just like this while I let that one cool just a minute. And then I'm going to test it. I'm going to see if it's done. And then if it is, we'll go from there. If not, I will add more time. But I'll be right back. Okay, so it's been like, I don't know, 2 minutes, but the suspense is killing me, and I want to know. And it seems, now this is the larger one, and it might not be done all the way right in the middle. So I may add, I'm going to taste it. Now again, that is one of the larger ones. But right in the middle, it's not done. So, I'm going to add, I'm going to say 3 minutes. At the same 350 degrees. And honestly, I think with carryover and this extra 3 minutes of heat, it'll be fine. But we will check that out again here shortly. Be right back. Okay, so there goes the extra 3 minutes. And actually, after eating that, when I finished eating it, it really wasn't. It was pretty much done. There was nothing really wrong with it. So I don't want to add any more time. I mean, you can see they look fantastic. So I'm going to let them rest just a minute. That's what I think is best. And I think with them sitting there just a minute, I'm going to give them about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to pull them out and put them in this dish, and then we're going to go forward with with working on the sauce. So I'll be right back in a few minutes, and we're going to move it to that dish. Okay, I'm going to say that's 4 or 5 minutes, and we're about to transfer to the dish. Make sure everything's running, and it is. And these vegetables look fantastic. I mean, they're going to be great when you get this sauce on them. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to keep you around this whole time. I'm going to get these moved over here. I'm going to put the ribs on top of it, and then I'll bring you back before I start doing the saute function, which reduces that sauce in the bottom just a little bit. And some of those vegetables are falling down into the ribs, but it's okay. It's not going to matter. I mean, almost all of those pearl onions did, but it doesn't matter. I'll bring you back in just a minute when I get this transferred, and we'll go from there. Okay, so all I did was move those over, but I mean, look at these ribs. They look excellent. I mean, they really do. I mean, they're going to be excellent too. So I feel positive they're going to be great. Again, I don't know there's any need in all of this, but I'm going to, all I'm going to do is move these over, and I'm going to try and dip out as many of those pearl onions or whatever, which is not going to hurt. I don't care that they stay in there. So I'm really just going to try and get this in here and get it positioned. Then I've got to tint it with foil. That's what a loose tint, they said. So that's what I'm going to do. Get the ribs out. Try not to make as much more mess than I have to. And I mean, you know, of course you can display it a little better, put some vegetables on top of it. And I don't want to tear those ribs up. Man, they look really good. So I'm just going to dip a couple of them out, a couple of the carrots that fell, and some of these onions. It actually asked for to chop that onion, and I just rough cut it. I think it's going to be fantastic that way. So they certainly look good, and man, I love beef ribs. And they're one of the better cuts on the cow, if you ask me. They have a really, really good flavor. So now, although I've made quite a mess, it says like 5 minutes. I'm just going to kind of watch it. I'm just going to hit saute sear and let it go for a few minutes. I'm just going to keep an eye on it and make sure nothing goes really wrong, because I think all we're doing is reducing that, just doing a little reduction on that to get it a little bit thicker. And then we're going to add, I'm going to pour it into there. And what it wants you to do, I read it up after it wants you to put it in here and let it rest for a few minutes, and the fat will come to the top, and it wants you to spoon off the fat and then add your parsley. Well, I'm going to get some of the fat out, but I'm not that way. I don't have to get all the fat out. I'm just that kind of like that. I mean, you can the longer you let it settle, the more fat will come to the top, the more you can get it off, obviously. So anyhow, you can see it's already getting a little active in there. So I'm going to watch it for a minute and see about how long it takes. I'm going to time it and let you know about how long I let it go. And but anyhow, I'll be right back. Okay, so that's right at 5 minutes. So I'm going to turn it off, and then I'm going to let it cool down just a little bit. I do have a Pyrex dish that I'm going to put it in. I would be afraid to put it in anything other than that. So I'm going to let that cool down just a minute, and then we're going to transfer it to here. But be back. Okay, so that's 4 or 5 minutes, and you can see it's still bubbling just a little bit, but it's in this hot container. The NINJA itself is going to keep it warm for a while. So I'm going to pull it out, pour it into here, and then set this right here. And you can see, that's what I mean by the way the pot works. The non-stick surface on it is really impressive. So we're going to give that a minute to settle out, and then I'm going to take this spoon or something and try and get some of that fat off for whatever reason. And I'm sure there is it's a good idea, but I'll do that in just a minute. Okay, so it's been a good 5 minutes or so, and I'll try and show you. Let's see if I can get there's what we're looking at. I mean, my onions are a little bigger than what they called for, but there is definitely some fat on top. I'm not going to dip all that off. I'm just not. And I mean, of course you could, but I mean, it just, to me, I'm going to get some of it for the sake of getting some of it. And then I'm fixing to put that parsley in there. And then I'm thinking about pouring it on top of my, I've got it over here loosely tinted, like they said, and you can see it looks excellent. Those ribs look like they're like you want a beef rib. So I'm done with dipping. I'm going to put my parsley in, and I'm going to stir that up and let that kind of get, or whatever you want to say, get it kind of to absorb some of those juices and make that a fantastic looking gravy, I'd call it, to go on top of it. An au jus, a gravy. And I'm going to let it sit just a minute. And then we're going to get this over here and get this set up, get this out of the way. And we're going to get it like we would present it at Christmas dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, whatever time you serve it, supper, you know, or whatever. But I'm gonna get it that way, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here's how I'm gonna serve it, just like this. I'll pour this gravy over the top of it, and then this is how I would serve it. I'm gonna let it settle down just a minute. I think that looks fantastic. I mean, I know those ribs do. So the root vegetables are gonna be great. I'm gonna let those get in there a little bit, and it'll be easy to reheat, and everything else. That's probably when it'll be done, is tomorrow. It's a little late tonight. I'm gonna eat some of it here in just a minute. But I mean, you can store it in your refrigerator just like that, reheat it ever how you want to. But there we go. I'm gonna get a plate finished, and I'm gonna get a plate fixed, and I'll show y'all what it looks like. Okay, so my version of the beef ribs looks like that. And I mean, that is an excellent looking beef rib. In fact, I'm gonna get around them to get some of these vegetables, and that is pretty much gonna be my supper. I'm actually gonna get a little bit of this, pour over the top of it, and put this in the refrigerator for tomorrow, because it did get a little late. But there it is. You can see those ribs are perfect. I mean, that is a good looking way to cook, and I've cooked them in pressure cookers before. I've never browned them, or I've never had some of the features I got with the Ninja to do the vegetables and all, but I assure you, I don't have to tell you, that's an excellent recipe. Now, it is an intermediate. I meant to show that, and I may have. It shows on it refers to it as an intermediate recipe. So, whoops, right there, it's intermediate. So that means it does take a little longer, and it does. You could shorten up what I did a little bit, but anyhow, the vegetables are absolutely excellent. That carrot, the parsnips are all cooked perfect. I mean, they really are. And it's a really good dish. You can present it any way you want it, with that sauce on the side, kind of like they did. But it's great just like this. And you can store it all together. So, anyhow, in the kitchen with Jelly. I appreciate you watching my video. And thanks for, like I said, thanks for watching. And come back to see me. You can find me, best way is jelly007.com. Just put that right there into Google, and you can find me easy that way. That takes you right to my page. But anyhow, thanks a bunch for watching, and y'all come back to see me, and have a good night.